the tale of the world's great gathering. Once upon a time, in a world not so different from ours, there were many kingdoms. These kingdoms were vast and diverse, each with its own customs, languages, and ways of life. Some were ruled by kings and queens, others by wise councils, and still others by elected leaders. The lands were rich with forests, rivers, mountains, and valleys, and the people cherished their unique heritages. However, despite the beauty of their lands and the wisdom of their rulers, the kingdoms often found themselves in conflict. Disputes over borders, resources, and differences in beliefs led to wars that brought sorrow and hardship to the people. In one such time of great conflict, a terrible war raged across the lands. It was called the Great War, and it brought immense suffering to all the kingdoms. The sky was often dark with smoke, and the fields that once bore crops were now battlefields. The people longed for peace, but knew not how to achieve it. Amidst this turmoil, a wise and kind-hearted prince named Franklin lived in the kingdom of stars and stripes. Prince Franklin was not a warrior, but a thinker, always pondering ways to bring peace to his land and beyond. One evening, as he sat by the grand fireplace in his study, he had an idea. "I must gather the leaders of all the kingdoms," as he said to himself. "Together, we can find a way to ensure such a war never happens again." With determination, Prince Franklin sent messages far and wide, inviting the leaders of all the kingdoms to a grand meeting. His messengers traveled through forests, over mountains, and across seas, carrying his heartfelt plea for unity and peace. Months passed, and slowly but surely, the leaders responded. From the kingdom of the Maple Leaf came King William, known for his fairness and wisdom. Queen Elizabeth, a beloved ruler from the island kingdom, also agreed to join. From the distant steppes of the Bear Kingdom, Tsar Joseph, a formidable and stern leader, promised his presence. Many others from various lands also pledged to come, intrigued by Prince Franklin's vision. The chosen meeting place was a magnificent hall in the City of Light, nestled in the kingdom of Tricolor. The city, known for its beauty and art, was the perfect place for such a historic gathering. As the leaders arrived, the people of the City of Light greeted them with songs and flowers, hopeful that this meeting would bring about a lasting peace. On the first day of the grand meeting, Prince Franklin stood before the assembled leaders. His heart swelled with hope as he looked at the diverse faces before him, each representing a different kingdom, a different way of life. "Esteemed leaders," Prince Franklin began, "we have gathered here not as rivals, but as fellow inhabitants of this precious world. The Great War has shown us the devastation that conflict brings, but I believe that together we can forge a path to peace." King William of the Maple Leaf stood up, his eyes thoughtful. "Prince Franklin speaks the truth. We must find a way to settle our disputes without resorting to war." Queen Elizabeth nodded in agreement. "In unity, we can achieve what we cannot alone. Let us create a council where representatives from all our kingdoms can come together to discuss and resolve our differences." Tsar Joseph, though stern, spoke with a hint of hope. "If we are to trust each other, we must have clear rules and mutual respect. Only then can this council be effective." As the days turned into weeks, the leaders debated, discussed, and dreamed together. They envisioned a world where their children and grandchildren could grow up without the fear of war. They spoke of justice, equality, and the importance of working together for the common good. However, not all was smooth sailing. Differences in opinion often led to heated arguments. One day, the hall echoed with raised voices as the leaders struggled to find common ground. "How can we trust each other after all the suffering we've endured?" questioned a wary leader from a distant kingdom. Prince Franklin rose to speak, his voice calm and reassuring. "Trust must be built, step by step. We start by committing to open dialogue and mutual support. Let us pledge to help each other rebuild and to support each other in times of need." Inspired by his words, the leaders began to see the potential of their unity. They drafted a grand charter, a set of principles and goals that would guide their new council. They called it the Charter of the Great Gathering, a beacon of hope for all the kingdoms. Just as they were about to finalize their agreement, news arrived from the southern lands. A new conflict had erupted, threatening to undo all their hard work. The leaders realized that their mission was far from over and that their unity was needed now more than ever. And so, with their hearts set on peace and their minds full of resolve, the leaders prepared to face this new challenge together. The journey was just beginning, and the road ahead was long, but they knew that united, they were stronger. The leaders of the world's kingdoms were not deterred by the news of the new conflict. Instead, it strengthened their resolve to establish a lasting peace. They realized that their unity was essential not just for themselves, but for the future of all their people. Prince Franklin, with a determined look in his eyes, addressed the gathered leaders once more. "Esteemed friends, we must act swiftly. Let us send a delegation from our great gathering to the southern lands. They will mediate and help bring peace to the troubled region. This will be our first test as a united council." King William of the Maple Leaf stood and declared, "I will lead the delegation. We must show the world that our unity is not just words, but actions." Queen Elizabeth added, "I will accompany you, King William. Together, we can show the strength of our commitment to peace." Tsar Joseph, though stern, agreed. "We shall send our best mediators and advisors. This conflict must be resolved, and we must prove the power of our great gathering." The delegation, comprising leaders and their trusted advisors, set off for the southern lands. The journey was long and arduous, but they were driven by their shared vision of peace. They traveled through dense forests, crossed vast deserts, and navigated treacherous mountains. Along the way, they spread the message of unity and hope to the people they met, inspiring them to believe in a brighter future. Upon reaching the troubled southern lands, the delegation found a kingdom torn apart by strife. Villages lay in ruins, and the people were weary from the endless fighting. The leaders of the warring factions, King Leo and Queen Maria, were both noble and brave, but blinded by their grievances against each other. King William approached King Leo with a respectful bow. "Your Majesty, we have come from the great gathering to offer our help. We believe that through dialogue and understanding, we can find a solution that brings peace to your kingdom." Queen Elizabeth spoke gently to Queen Maria. "Your Majesty, we understand your pain and your desire for justice, but we ask you to consider the future of your people. Peace can bring prosperity and happiness to your land." King Leo and Queen Maria were skeptical, but agreed to meet with the delegation. Over several days, they sat together, discussing their grievances and their hopes for their kingdom. The delegation, with their experience and wisdom, guided the conversations, helping both sides to see the possibility of a peaceful resolution. One evening, as the sun set over the southern lands, King Leo and Queen Maria stood together on a hill overlooking their kingdom. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, a symbol of hope for a new beginning. King Leo turned to Queen Maria and said, "Perhaps it is time to end our feud. For the sake of our people, we must find a way to live in harmony." Queen Maria nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes, for our children and their children, we must choose peace." With the help of the delegation, King Leo and Queen Maria drafted a peace agreement. They pledged to work together to rebuild their kingdom, to heal the wounds of their people, and to create a future of unity and prosperity. When the delegation returned to the City of Light with the news of their success, the hall erupted in joyous celebration. The leaders embraced, their hearts filled with hope and pride. They had proven that their great gathering could indeed bring about peace. Prince Franklin stood before the assembly, his eyes shining with happiness. "This is just the beginning. Together, we can overcome any challenge. Our unity will light the way for future generations." The leaders of the world's kingdoms ratified the Charter of the Great Gathering, and thus the United Council of Nations was born. They established a grand hall in the City of Light, where representatives from all the kingdoms would meet regularly to discuss and resolve their differences, to support each other in times of need, and to work together for the common good. The United Council of Nations became a beacon of hope and a symbol of unity for all the people. The kingdoms flourished in peace, their lands growing rich with crops and their children playing happily in the fields. The people, knowing that their leaders were united in their commitment to peace, lived without fear. And so, the world's great gathering brought about a new era of harmony and prosperity. The tale of their unity and resolve was told for generations, inspiring all to believe in the power of coming together for a better tomorrow. And they all lived happily ever after.